Welcome to Medtalks, your go-to source for health information and medical insights. I'm your host, Juvenava, and we are bringing you the latest in healthcare. Whether you're looking to understand the basics of wellness, gain practical tips for everyday health, or learn about community resources available to help you live a healthier and happier life, Medtalks has you covered. Join us on this journey to better health, and remember, a healthier you starts with a single conversation. Stay informed, stay healthy with Medtalks, where every talk is a step towards a better you.
GraceMed Health Clinic is your home for complete compassionate care. From medical visits to vision screenings, dental care, behavioral health support, and a fully equipped pharmacy, we're here to meet all your health needs. Our dedicated team of providers and staff work together to make every visit welcoming and stress-free. Because at GraceMed, you're not just a patient, you're part of our family. Call 316-866-2000 to schedule your appointment. GraceMed Health Clinic, compassionate care for all.
Welcome, guys, to another episode of Medtalks. I'm Juvenava, Director of Community Outreach and Communications at GraceMed Health Clinic. I'm here with Tessa from Stepstone in Wichita. How are you?
I'm good.
Very good. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
I have been really interested, looking at your website from Stepstone. You do a lot of amazing work. But for those people who don't know, for our listeners who've never heard of Stepstone, can you talk to us about what is Stepstone? Who is Stepstone? Things like that.
Yeah. So Stepstone is a transitional housing and support services for survivors of domestic violence, intimate partner domestic violence. So we were founded about 30 years ago by the Sisters of St. Joseph, who saw that there was a major gap from the time somebody may be in a domestic violence shelter, which could be anywhere from 4 to 6 to 8 weeks, kind of dependent on their situation. But they were seeing that gap of when they were ready to leave the shelter or timing out of shelter, they had nowhere to go. They were going back to their abuser. They were becoming homeless. They were shelter hopping. So they kind of identified that need of, there needs to be something in between the shelter and back to complete independence, back to normal life, back out there in the world. So they created our program as kind of that bridge with our 2-year transitional housing program. Okay. We used to have all freestanding homes out in the community that our survivors could live in for those 2 years. And while they were there, they received support services with an advocate. Wow. And then we also had a therapist, support groups, different types of classes and groups throughout the year and the time that they're there. About 10 years ago, we built a 28-unit apartment complex by the name of Bluffview Place. Okay. And then we kind of brought all those services in. Okay. So the apartment office building is where the advocates are, our counselor, our support groups, our classes, the property managers, all there, kind of as a one-stop area.
Nice.
We have 4, 3, 2, and 1-bedroom apartments. Okay. And we still maintain a couple of duplexes across the street. Okay. But everything is kind of right there in one spot for those that may be challenged by transportation issues or so everything's kind of right there. Okay. Their advocate, the therapist, their property manager, all right there on site.
Okay. Now, some of our listeners won't know the difference between an emergency shelter versus transitional housing. Can you explain that a little bit?
So emergency shelter obviously is a crisis situation. Maybe you have called WPD to come out for a domestic violence incident and you need somewhere to go that night. You need somewhere to go right now, or you're in an emergency and you need somewhere to go right now. That's where you're going to call the domestic violence shelters or the crisis shelters, and if they have a bed available, you can go there that same day. Yeah. We're a little different. We can't house anybody in an emergency situation. We're kind of after that stabilization has been able to happen. So that's kind of the difference. And we're also longer term. So they can stay in our housing for up to 2 years.
Oh, that's nice.
We do partner with a income-based leasing agency by the name of Mennonite Housing. We were finding it was kind of hard to be a therapeutic presence, a support presence with one hand and collect rent with the other. So we brought in a leasing partner, Mennonite Housing, to handle the rent, the property management, the lease, all that kind of landlord stuff.
Okay.
So Stepstone can really focus on the support services and the advocacy and the therapy, the healing part of the domestic violence.
That makes sense. To sort of separate both.
Yeah, separate that out. So like I said, they can stay in our housing for up to 2 years. And while they're there, they do contribute to their rent. They can expect to pay about 30% of their gross monthly income towards their rent for those 2 years, and then Stepstone subsidizes the remaining amount.
Okay.
So
Okay.
each apartment, each unit has a market value. So, we could have someone living in a 4-bedroom paying $208 a month, and we'll subsidize the remaining amount.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
And I know that earlier you mentioned some of the services that you do offer. Can you walk us through a day in the
Yeah.
life of a survivor, of what their day might look like at Stepstone?
Yeah. So they move into our program and they are assigned an advocate, which an advocate is, kind of like a case manager, more of a supportive presence rather than a task-oriented presence. They're advocates there to help them, whatever they want to do in those 2 years they're with us, whatever goals they've set, whatever they want to accomplish, they're advocates there to help them get that done through resources, referrals, just support, unconditional support, just walking through and navigating that, system with them in those 2 years they're with us. So they have an advocate. And really, we like to set goals at the beginning. We like to do a lot of safety planning for this new situation they found themselves in at Stepstone. So a lot of safety planning, a lot of goal setting. A lot of times they're wanting to, work on their credit. They're wanting to get GED. They're wanting to go back to school. They're wanting resources on how to parent now that abusive partner is out of their life. We also have 2 child advocates whose sole purpose is to work with the kids because they went through this too. So it's really important that we have services just for them as well, so they can really get the most out of the healing while they're there. So they can come to our support groups. We offer lots of different types of classes like financial literacy, first-time home buyer. We do art therapy, journaling, parenting groups, just lots of different groups we try to offer throughout the year in hopes that those that engage in those things kind of feel like they're in a better spot emotionally, financially, physically after those 2 years have come and gone and they graduate our program.
That's incredible. I mean, to have those services available for them so that they can feel just nurtured and to have like this hope for their future. And speaking of that, I'm reading through your website. I saw that you do try to provide like a nurturing, like stable environment. What are some ways, and I know you do this with therapy, but what are some ways that you work on that or do that in perhaps a housing environment that might, during that transition of going from like such a violent relationship to trying to find their own way?
So, because we are a program that, is domestic violence focused and healing from that, all of our services we offer are free, confidential, and voluntary. Voluntary being a big part of it. We don't mandate they meet with their advocate so many times a week. We don't mandate they attend so many support groups a month or they lose their housing. What we really try to stress is giving that autonomy and that power of choice back to them, not only because it's the right thing to do, but maybe because that's a skill they need to practice being freshly out of a relationship where the power and control was not equal at all. So we really want them to start getting used to making their own decisions again, deciding I want to do that, I don't want to do that, deciding that's something I want to do. No, that's not really for me. So we really try to give that back to them in the 2 years they're there. And also, it feels kind of icky to do that, to say, hey, if you don't attend so many support groups a month, you're getting kicked out of here. That's really just taking the power and control out of one person's hands and putting it in another person's hands. And that's not something we want to contribute, or that's not something we want to keep doing for them in their life. But kind of one of our brand pillars is being the neighbor. So instead of seeing us as another agency, another system, another hoop they have to jump through, we want to be like the neighbor. Hey, you ran out of coffee filters, come grab a coffee filter, or better yet, stay and have a cup of coffee. We provide hygiene and cleaning items and household items that they need. So if they run out of toilet paper, they can come grab some for us. Or if, they're kind of in that tricky spot where they have 4 more days till payday, or their benefits, renew, and they ran out of XYZ, they can come to us and grab that without feeling like they're a burden or feeling like they have to do something for it or they owe us. So we like to kind of be that neighbor presence in their life rather than another program or agency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We earlier had talked about that you've had the opportunity to basically hold multiple positions at Stepstone. And so you're probably going to be the expert on this, but what are some of the challenges that families face when they're going from emergency shelter to transitional housing, and even after they're done with transitional housing, that perhaps we as the public don't think about or that we perhaps take for granted?
I think a big one is just low-income housing right now, all over the country, very much in our city as well. There just isn't a lot of options.
Right.
A lot of times, if you have even one eviction, a lot of property managers or landlords won't even consider you, or you have a criminal history, or your credit score is not great. Those are all things that contribute to finding stable housing out in the real world, and that's a lot of these huge barriers that our survivors face. Are those things. A huge part of domestic violence is financial abuse. So a lot of our survivors are coming in with either no credit because they've never been able to build it, or wrecked credit. So that's something we work on with almost all our survivors, is rebuilding that credit so then they can go out and have a better chance of getting permanent housing. So that's definitely our main one, is having resources for housing even after the 2 years. Because while 2 years is a long time in social service world, and it's a long time compared to what they get with emergency shelters, it's still 2 years. And a lot of times our ladies are coming in with addiction issues. They're coming in with mental health. They're coming in with generational poverty. So to come in and be like, okay, you have 2 years to fix generational poverty or, an addiction issue. It's a good start, but a lot of times that's just what it is. It's a good start. Yeah. So
now the 2 years, is that because that's the that's usually the turnaround time that's average for them to be able to support themselves, or is why 2 year limit?
So we are 100% grant funded by a lot of state and federal grant funding.
Gotcha.
So that's just what we have in our grants. That's just what felt like was a doable or realistic timeline to kind of get going on some of that stuff. And then, we also have to think about getting as many survivors a chance to come through our program as possible as well. So we had to put some sort of limit on it. And 1 year just wasn't enough. Right. 2 years just seemed like a good time.
All right, let's just say that they've done their 2 years. What does it look like for them to transition out? And how does Stepstone support them when they're ready to move on?
Okay.
Like, what does success look like for them?
So, it looks different for everybody. From pretty much the time they move in, we hit the ground running with one of the ultimate goals. The main goal from the time they move in is working towards permanent housing, because it will take every bit of those 2 years to find that and be ready for that. Around the 6-month mark is where we really, let's set a budget. What's going to be your budget going forward? What kind of, part of town are you looking to live in? Considering your kids' schools, do you want to stay in those areas? And we really just do, research with them. We have company cars that we can transport in, and we can get them around town. We have bus passes and Uber cards to make sure they are physically able to get around to, go apartment hunt. Or we have some that want to start thinking about buying homes. So, we can work with them on that, working with them on connecting them to different resources that we have, so they're well educated on that. They do have a month-to-month lease, so they're not locked into a 1 year or whatever lease. So if something comes along and they want to leave our program early, totally fine. They just give a 30-day notice. They're not locked into any kind of lease. We also work with them a lot on connecting them to Wichita Housing Authority, the Section 8 vouchers.
Yes.
So that's something we do with almost every survivor if they would want to. Everything is always their choice, obviously, but because that's a very confusing process as well as navigating that. So we try to get them signed up for any vouchers they want, and then providing them with resources on property managers and community partners that take those vouchers. And then after they graduate our program, they can still meet with their advocate. They can still come to support groups. They can still do all the things that they were doing with us, just minus the housing piece. So they always have that support person, should they need them, even when they're not in our housing. So success really does look different for everybody. And, not everybody finds, that success. We always say part of the choice part is if somebody moves into our program and they want to just take the 2 years to chill in their apartment and just kind of recoup and just take that time to really focus on themselves, that's totally fine. The 2 years comes and goes either way. So, we're hoping they're taking advantage of all those resources and learning and growth opportunities. We try to offer them as low barrier as possible, but at the end of the day, it's absolutely the survivor's choice what they want to do with it. So.
Okay. Now, for survivors, if they're interested in Stepstone, is that a referral based, or can they just walk up? How does that work?
Yeah, all the above. The majority of our referrals do come from the emergency domestic violence shelters.
Okay.
We get referrals from WPD. We get referrals from hospitals. We get calls. Tons of calls a day. We get walk-ins. It does start with an application that they fill out and return to me, and then if it looks like, okay, this application looks like no issues here, I'll give them a call and we do a housing interview, and then if that goes well and I offer housing and they accept the housing, I then pass their information on to our leasing partners at Mennonite Housing, and from there it's really similar to renting an apartment or a home anywhere else. She does background credit checks, she does income verification, she does rental histories, but all that knowing how domestic violence plays into any of those. They may have a criminal history due to the domestic violence. They may have a bad rental history due to the domestic violence. So we always try to get context around all that to make sure we're being flexible and accommodating and not holding that DV against them. But
that makes sense.
Yeah.
You've been with Stepstone for a number of years now. I can imagine that you have seen some incredible stories that, or stories of success because of what Stepstone provides. Without sharing any kind of personal information, is there a story that you could share with our listeners?
Yeah. So we have, I think a lot of the successes have to do with the ones that kind of come in and they are just, they're just broken. They just, they don't have a lot of support. They've never really had anything that they've, been proud of. So just seeing them win and knowing that we were able to walk, beside them for that, and just seeing them and their kids and seeing the kids, have their own space. We have an outdoor area that has like a basketball goal and a playground and all that. And every day when I leave, the weather's nice, they're all out there just playing basketball together. So they're bonding, with each other. They have this unspoken thing that they're able to bond over, that they may not be able to have that same connection with kids at school or anywhere else. They can't get that anywhere else besides our agency, and our agency just happens to also be their home. So it's kind of cool to just see them all out there, carefree, playing basketball, just like normal kids when, they've all probably seen and gone through some horrible stuff and they're all just out there hanging out and just being kids. But them being able to finally have their own space, and then when they graduate, truly having, their own space that they earned. They don't owe anybody anything. They did it themselves. It's, it's not any kind of transactional thing. They did it themselves. They have that safety. They have something they're proud of, and they did it 100%, on their own.
That's so cool. That's awesome. Working a nonprofit, obviously we do it for the passion, the heart that we have. Where does this passion for you come from?
So I just started here, after my undergrad. I applied for a bunch of jobs as one does. And I really love this one because of the connections that you're able to build, because of the time that you're with these families. You're with these families for, minimum 2 years. So that is kind of a lifetime when it comes to social services. So you really get to see these families triumph. You get to see them hurt and overcome. You get to grow with them. You get to see them celebrate victories. You get to see them overcome hardships, good news, bad news. So my favorite part and why I stay is just being able to really grow with these families and really walk with them for a pretty long time. So, and then afterwards, we have families that graduate our program, and then 10 years later, they'll send us their kids' graduation from high school invitations, and they want us to attend those. And so just really walking with them sometimes for a decade plus.
That's nice. That's awesome. If our listeners want to support you or want to learn more about Stepstone, or just have the same passion as you do, how can they do that?
We have our website, stepstoneks.org. We have our Facebook page. They can call our agency. I'm happy to share any information about our survivors and our agency and how we work. Volunteering is a little tricky just because the confidentiality aspect of it all. But our website, which we will be completely rebranding soon, so we'll have a new website. We're working on that as we speak, so be on the lookout for that. But our website, our social media, and just giving our agency a call. And talking to one of our advocates or myself.
Nice. So, last question. Looking ahead, what are your goals? What's your vision?
We want to keep growing. We want to keep serving as many people as we can at the same quality and level of care that we get, without losing that neighbor presence. We don't want to grow so much that it's, factory-like or, cranking out people. But we have a wait list right now, so we definitely could be serving more. So our goal is to always keep growing, but give the same level of care. Unfortunately, I don't think we'll ever not have a reason to be here. I don't think we'll ever have a shortage of referrals or people that we need to be serving.
Unfortunately.
So we just kind of want to expand our therapy department. We want to expand who we're able to reach and what we're able to do.
That's nice. Tessa, thank you so much for joining us and for providing us so much information and insightful information. Really appreciate everything that you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you guys for joining us for another episode, and we will talk to you soon.